Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. On May 10, 1980, United States Secretary of the Treasury G. William Miller announces the approval of nearly $1.5 billion in federal loan guarantees for the nearly bankrupt Chrysler Corporation. At the time, it was the largest rescue package ever granted by the U.S. government to an American corporation. Founded as the Maxwell Motor Company, Inc. in 1913, Chrysler grew into the Chrysler Corporation after 1925, when Walter P. Chrysler took over control of the company. Its purchase of Dodge Brothers in 1928 announced Chrysler's arrival as a major force in the U.S. automotive industry. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel. After decades of expansion, the company's success came to a screeching halt after the 1973 oil crisis led to skyrocketing gas costs and new government standards for emissions. The combination of these factors caused problems for the big three of American automakers, Ford, General Motors and Chrysler, as the trend towards so-called muscle cars in the 1960s had led them to produce vehicles with powerful, gas-guzzling engines. Chrysler's famous Hemi engine, used in cars like the Dodge Charger and Challenger and the Plymouth Roadrunner, was one of the most prominent examples. In an attempt to produce lighter, more efficient vehicles, Chrysler bought shares in the Japanese motor company Mitsubishi, which began producing subcompact cars under the Chrysler name in 1970. By the end of the decade, however, Chrysler was in dire financial straits. Lee Iacocca, the former Ford executive who became the company's president and chairman of the board in 1978, appealed for a federal loan, banking on the fact that the government wouldn't allow the country's number 3 automaker to declare bankruptcy in an already depressed economy. His gamble paid off. In explaining the decision to grant the loans to Chrysler, Treasury Secretary Miller stated that the government recognizes that there is a public interest in sustaining its jobs and maintaining a strong and competitive national automotive industry. The terms of the $1.5 billion in loans required Chrysler to raise another $2 billion on its own, which Iacocca did by streamlining operations and persuading union leaders to accept some layoffs and wage cuts, among other measures. His high-profile personal leadership, combined with a focus on more fuel-efficient vehicles, steered Chrysler to one of the most famous corporate comebacks in recent history. In 1984, a year after paying off its government loans ahead of schedule, the company posted record profits of some $2.4 billion. 25 years later, however, plummeting sales and a deepening global financial crisis landed Chrysler in trouble again, and in early 2009 the company received another $4 billion in federal funds. Soon after, under pressure from President Barack Obama's administration, Chrysler filed for federal bankruptcy protection and entered into a partnership with the Italian automaker Fiat. Chrysler's financial troubles stemmed from multiple factors, including the 1973 oil crisis, which led to a surge in gasoline prices and a shift in consumer demand toward smaller, fuel-efficient vehicles. Chrysler's focus on large, fuel-inefficient cars left it ill-prepared for this market shift. Additionally, the company faced high interest rates, declining automobile sales, and intense international competition, all of which contributed to its financial instability. In response to these challenges, Congress passed the Chrysler Corporation Loan Guarantee Act of 1979, signed into law by President Jimmy Carter on January 7, 1980. The act authorized up to $1.5 billion in federal loan guarantees, contingent upon Chrysler securing $2 billion in concessions from various stakeholders, including labor unions, creditors, and state and local governments. Under the leadership of CEO Lee Iacocca, Chrysler implemented significant cost-cutting measures, introduced new fuel-efficient models like the K-cars and minivans, and ultimately returned to profitability. By 1983, the company had repaid its government-backed loans ahead of schedule, resulting in a $350 million profit for the U.S. government. Today, Chrysler operates as a brand under Stellantis NV, a multinational automotive group formed from the merger of Fiat Chrysler Automobiles and PSA Group. The $1.5 billion loan guarantee for Chrysler in 1980 marked one of the most dramatic government interventions in U.S. corporate history. At the time, Chrysler was teetering on the brink of bankruptcy due to a mix of rising oil prices, increased foreign competition, and a failure to adapt quickly to changing consumer demands. The company, which had long relied on large, fuel-hungry vehicles, found itself struggling after the 1973 oil crisis shifted consumer preference toward more fuel-efficient cars, especially from Japanese manufacturers like Toyota and Honda. As Chrysler's financial crisis deepened, the company's new CEO, Lee Iacocca, made a direct appeal to the federal government, warning that without assistance, tens of thousands of jobs could be lost and the ripple effects on suppliers and related industries could be severe. Congress responded by passing the Chrysler Corporation Loan Guarantee Act of 1979, signed into law by President Jimmy Carter in early 1980. The act provided for up to $1.5 billion in federally backed loans, but only if Chrysler could secure another $2 billion in cost reductions and concessions from other parties. This requirement led to intense negotiations with labor unions, banks, and local governments. With the loan guarantee secured, Iacocca led a sweeping overhaul of the company. Chrysler slashed costs, streamlined its operations, and invested in the development of new vehicles. Among the most successful of these were the K-Cars and the revolutionary minivan, vehicles that would go on to redefine the American auto market. These innovations, coupled with strict financial discipline, helped Chrysler recover far faster than expected. By 1983, Chrysler had fully repaid its government-backed loans, 7 years ahead of schedule, and returned a $350 million profit to the U.S. Treasury. The turnaround became a model of how a mix of public support and private reform could revive a failing enterprise. Iacocca became a national hero, symbolizing American ingenuity and resilience. Chrysler's bailout not only saved the company but also helped preserve a vital part of the U.S. manufacturing base during a period of economic uncertainty. Decades later, the event remains a landmark example of federal intervention in the private sector, laying a precedent later followed during the 2008 financial crisis with bailouts of both automakers and banks. Following the approval of the $1.5 billion loan guarantees in 1980, Chrysler's path to recovery was anything but easy. The company faced intense scrutiny from lawmakers, financial institutions, and the public, many of whom questioned whether taxpayer dollars should be used to prop up a failing corporation. Critics warned that this move set a dangerous precedent, rewarding mismanagement with government assistance.